So not knowing then what was making me anxious, what was making me sensory overload and all of that. So I tend to get into a lot of crashes. So I burn out a lot. I was even once, because of the misunderstanding and people not knowing how at the hospital, I was put in a psychiatric ward.
Oh. Yeah, well, Beatrice, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, today, 2nd of April, is the awareness for autism, to commemorate Autism Awareness Day, actually. The whole month, actually, is the Autism Awareness Month. So therefore, that's why I'd like to invite you and talk to you. By the way, my name is Nancy Shukri. I'm the Minister in charge of Women, Family and Community Development. So it's a very wide scope. That's why I think one of the topics that will be very interesting to share with the community out there would be on autism. So perhaps with your knowledge on autism, it would be very good for you to share with people and introduce yourself first.
Yep, so thanks for inviting me. And I think this is also a very special occasion because usually people like me don't have a lot of platform, and so I'm very happy that for the first time, I think the ministry is inviting an autistic adult to actually commemorate the World Autism Day with her. So my name is Beatrice, and I'm an autistic adult who only found my diagnosis very late in life, in my mid-30s. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I also run an advocacy group for autistic rights in Malaysia. We are called AIDA.
Very interesting. I read your profile. It's very impressive. And then I came to know that in your mid-30s, then you only discovered after all the misdiagnosis before that. It was very interesting to share with the people, because not many people may be able to realize this. And there's a lot out there, and we need to share with them so that they know and realize it. Actually, just this morning, I was talking to my daughter, and suddenly my daughter said, they did not really find or did not really do a research on the girls, but mostly the boys. Perhaps you can share with the people out there.
Historically, predominantly, they study only boys. So that's why the data and then the guidelines of how you want to also diagnose someone had always been according to a man's perspective, according to what a boy should be. We have different traits, we have different physiology, so we may present differently. However, I would also say then that it wasn't because I gone unnoticed. I do have some challenges that was then been interpreted as something else. Because I think as society, we also say a girl must be slightly quieter, nicer, ayu sikit, it's okay to read more books, it's okay to not socialize as much. But what had then happened was I developed a lot of mental health challenge. So from a very young age, I've always had a lot of problems.
What sort of mental health challenge?
I've always had, I have a lot of social anxiety. It doesn't seem like it, but internally, because there's a lot of, I'm always scared inside. And it got very bad when I went to university in Australia, because then it's a new environment, living independently. Like as much as I crave a lot of the freedom, I enjoyed that creativity, but it was so different. So I had, then I finally got diagnosed with major depression disorder, and then many things then started to mount up. And then as I grow up, more life experiences, so your social circle also widened with jobs. So not knowing then what was making me anxious, what was making me sensory overload and all of that. So I tend to get into a lot of crashes, so I burn out a lot. I was even once, because of the misunderstanding and people not knowing how at the hospital, I was put in a psychiatric ward.
Oh.
Yeah, for a long time. So all of these things happened until much older, maybe when I was about 30s, I started to go and see therapy with someone. And more, then the pattern starts to show that something's not right. If something had worked from all the other misdiagnoses, I should have found some form of stability, kan? I didn't.
So that's how you discovered.
Yeah, so that was that journey. But that one thing, that one little, not little, you know, I have to be very grateful to this family. So I used to manage a gallery in KL. So I sat outside, and then there was this family that came with a very young boy at the end, and then with the siblings. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I just felt, oh, this boy is going to go into a meltdown. I want to give them a bit of space. So the moment they walk into the gallery, I asked them to skip the queue, told the rest of my team, tutup the pintu. And the moment they tutup the pintu, the boy had a meltdown. And I think it was so overwhelmed outside. I don't know why. And then I asked my team to also, can they have a bit more private space upstairs so that we don't allow people in until they come down. So when they came down, and then the dad then looked at me and said, oh, do you have a child with autism? Then I was like, no. Then he said, oh, how did you realize? Then I said, I don't know, I just do. And it's at that moment, you know, I took up my phone and started, am I autistic?
Not many people know about autistic, you know, about autism or any other thing that comes to within that sphere, the spectrum. Because many people, especially the kampong people, at that time when they saw some kids who are different from others, they start saying, putting them aside and trying to hide them from people, so that people don't know that they have a disabled child.
Like, I encourage people to embrace the word disability, and I bravely go out there and also identify myself as I'm Beatrice Leong, I'm autistic, and I am disabled. I don't think it's the term that we should be afraid of. It's the stigma and our understanding of what's behind the term. And I know a lot of people now try to like, apa yang betul, orang kurang upaya, orang kelainan upaya.
Oh, you're putting it rightly.
You know, but
I have that challenge.
Betul, but so I think we should also change our thinking that way. So the more that we are able to embrace that, and then the less we are fearful of what's different. Yeah.
Now, earlier on we mentioned about the girls. You know, there was no research used on girls or females or women. They tend to use more of men. Perhaps you can see the difference. You know, maybe you can share that with us as well.
So with girls, the challenges are a lot more internal. So boys behave differently, mannerisms are very differently. So when they are in distress, they have more physical response to the world, and they are more typical. They are more the common signs of autism or telling mannerism, the eye contact. So these are boys. But for girls, because we are more quietly absorbing information, so we store the information and we try to pretend. And one of the big things that the big terms that we use for girls is masking.
If you observe in other cases, maybe in your case is something that is very much different from those who belong to the lower spectrum, because when in the society, when they see or view all these autistic children, you know, they are different from others, different in the sense that maybe they have different kind of mannerism. So you start saying, oh, kesian, you know. Do you think that people should use the word kesian, or should they share by giving them more motivation? How do you see it?
I think we must go back to the basic of understanding the spectrum. So we think the spectrum is linear. So we think there's the high functioning and the low functioning, but actually it's not. The spectrum is made out of many different traits, and personality also comes into play. Kan? So if we understand that, then we will understand actually we are supporting people not based on whether high functioning or low functioning. That indicates nothing. But we support them. What do they need? The child has difficulty forming sentence and speaking. Let's give them AAC, which is a tool that they can
What is AAC?
AAC is augmented alternative communication tool.
Okay.
So it can come in a matter of, kalau high tech, then you have the phone, which is like an app, so they can press the picture. So it's like a visual board. So the low tech one is really just printed photos that they can communicate and make sentence. So we help them communicate. It's like a sign language version, but for autism.
I believe early intervention is very, very important. Early diagnosis is very important. But how would you like to encourage the community to, since when should they observe and notice their children? This is very important for parents especially.
So when we talk about early intervention, it's about early support. I don't like the word intervention, but it's an educational term.
The best thing is support.
So how do we support them to meet the needs? You know, they need to communicate. How do we support communication? They need a bit of social interaction to build social connection so that they have better self-esteem. How do we support that? Not that like paksa nak kawan. I know a lot of parents like, oh no, can you try to, which is not right, because then you're forcing someone. So imagine as a very young child, you don't know, you know, you're already confused with the world, the sensory overload and all that, and then your parents are telling you that like, no, you have to be normal, no, you have to be normal.
Because they do not know.
Correct.
That's why we want to have this program, so that we can share.
Information is important. I believe that before anything, we need to give people information, and we need to give them the right information.
Right. Now, what kind of support do they need? Be it parents or other family members, because sometimes parents don't accept it.
When we talk about support, we target the children, the child that has a diagnosis. Actually, the support should be community. The support should be environmental.
Right.
Environmental, the way we live, is the most important thing to me, because what's the point of me trying to support the child and say, this child needs this, but the moment they step out of the house, there's nothing for them to go to.
Right.
Can they play in the playground safely?
Yeah.
Can they go to a shopping mall safely?
Right.
Like I always tell people also that every shopping mall has bilik menyusu, right? Why can we not mandate that every shopping mall has a calm room or a sensory room? That's something that we can do. With that, suddenly all of the therapy for social communication, they have areas to practice them. I don't want to teach a child to be sociable, but then I don't give opportunity to the child to be social. So that is where we need to relook at our care system.
My only promise to myself is that, my commitment is that we'll try to do our best and do better. That's why I need to talk to people like yourself and the others who are in it, who are able to give us some kind of ideas. You're talking about people who cannot talk. What do you need to help them with? And those who are good, how could we make them better? Well, thank you, Beatrice, and I hope to see you again.
Yeah, for sure.
And I hope to see more people inviting you to share with the people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah.